Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, I'm going to check out the DXY. I'm going to give you a different perspective, much more different than everybody else you see out there. And I'm looking at the 12-week chart. So basically, this is the entire chart of the DXY. And you have to understand the DXY is basically, it's the dollar, but it's being measured against other currencies. So there's a common, you know, misunderstanding out there that, if the DXY goes up, meaning the dollar goes up. And that's not necessarily true because you have to look at two things. For example, so this is the purchasing power of the US dollar. And this is a lot different than the DXY. So you could see basically, the Federal Reserve came out in 1913. 1912 is when it really started to, open up. And then 1913 it was created. And when they created it, they created the dollar, the US dollar. And at the time it was worth $1. But then over time, it started to depreciate in value, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse. This is because this is how the system is designed. The system is designed based off debt, right? And they issue more debt and they print more currency, right? You know this. I don't have to explain to you. I'm sure everybody has that full understanding of how the central banking system works, how it's a complete fraud on the American people, and for that matter, the entire world. If you look at history, going even back to the Roman times, all fiat currencies end up in disaster. So, the United States, for example, has had three central banks. The first central bank, what did they do? They print tons of money, and all of a sudden, the currency starts to inflate, and then basically they're debt issuers and they ran out of money. The banks went insolvent. So you can just picture a bunch of people with their pitchforks and their straw hats outside the bank saying, "Where's our money? Where's our money?" And then you have these banks that are like, they're all nervous, biting their nails. That's because banks have a fundamental flaw, in which that is why we're all in crypto. That's why I'm in crypto, because crypto instantly fixes the fundamental flaw of the fiat currency central banking system, the worst system on planet Earth, the system that has destroyed more lives than any war or disease or anything. I mean, if you fix the financial problem, you fix basically all the world's problems. So look at every problem there is in your city, your town, your country, all over the world. Whatever problem it is, if you fix the financial system, you fix that problem, because most problems can be fixed with funding. But the problem is there's no funding because there's no money, right? They can print more money, but then it just hurts you in the end. So that could be a topic for another day. Just wanted to give you a rant there a little bit. So basically, going back real quick, I said there was three central banks. You had the first central bank, the people rose up with their pitchforks and brought them down. Then you had the second central bank of the United States. I'm not a history expert, but I know that Andrew Jackson, he was the first Democrat president back when, not to be political, but when actually they had some common sense. I'm talking both sides of the aisle had some common sense. Andrew Jackson, he was most famous for the banking war of 1812. Basically, he said, you can look this up on their quotes. The banks are a bunch of is a den of vipers and thieves, and that's still true today. Andrew Jackson saw a major problem in the United States, and that's not enemy forces or different political different policies. The issue he saw was literally the central banks, because he who controls the money controls everything, right? So banks control all the money, which means they control the government, which means they control basically the world. So if people who issue debt, that's like if you go back to the Rothschilds. I don't care about, there's a quote out there that says, I don't care what nation makes their laws, as long as we issue the debt, we're basically above the law in a sense. So if the politicians aren't going to get their funding for whatever, if they don't go along with the central bank scam, and we are still living in that scam today. There's a lot of things out there on the news about this and that and this and that. I'm not going to talk about that, but you know what I'm talking about. Just think about the last 5 to 10 to 15 years of all the news events, right? Those news events are basically, in my opinion, just distractions of the real problem. And the real problem is money. That's what it's all about. Everything is about money all of the time. And most of the people's issues is money, right? So you go to the grocery store, you're spending tons of money. You have rent you have to pay. You have a mortgage you have to pay. You have interest rates. You have bills. You have an electric bill. You have a gas bill. You have a car insurance bill. You have a cell phone bill. You have, health insurance. You have all these different bills, and all of them are getting more inflated through time, right? So that's the number one problem, at least for me, right? And for everybody I can speak for. So I don't know about you, but people, even if you make millions of dollars, the more money you make doesn't mean really anything, because your lifestyle changes. And just because you have more money and your lifestyle is better, well, it takes more to keep up with that lifestyle, even if you are rich or poor or whatever. So it all revolves around the central banking system, the money system. So and now, like I said, we have the second central bank. Andrew Jackson rose up, defeated them. Now we are on our third central bank, which is the Federal Reserve. It was created in 1913. And basically, there's a lot of conspiracy around it, with certain things like the Titanic, and I'm not going to get into that. But basically, the Federal Reserve created in 1913, and they had an idea of a new system, right? And that's the interesting thing, right? The central banks always find their way back. Like I said, you had the first central bank, destroyed. Second central bank, destroyed. Andrew Jackson's last words, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think his last words were, I killed the banks, or something like that, which was interesting. And by the way, Andrew Jackson was chosen to be in the White House for the Trump White House, and during his presidency, he could have picked any president he wanted. He chose to pick Andrew Jackson. So Andrew Jackson was sitting there right next to the Oval Office, and I'm thinking, why did he pick him? What is he known for? And like I said, he was known for defeating the central banks. And by the way, just to say, President Trump at the time, he was quoted saying, "The Federal Reserve is my biggest threat." You can go ahead and look that up on Google. Just type in President Trump, my biggest threat is the Fed, and you'll see a bunch of articles and quotes. And he didn't say China, he didn't say Russia, he didn't say, the Democrats, he didn't say this, he didn't say that, he didn't say all that. He said the Fed, right? Not to get political, I'm not choosing sides. I'm basically, there's only one side, the central banks and we the people. So there's two sides. We the people versus the central banks, right? The politicians and all those people, they're just in the way. They're just, puppets, in my opinion. So basically, let's get to the chart of the DXY. You could see, well, this is the chart of the dollar. You could see it's dying. You can see over time it's going down and down and down and down and down, right? So the DXY, here's the DXY. So basically the DXY is not necessarily the dollar itself, but it's basically uh, comparing the dollar to all the rest of the fiat currencies, if those are any better, right? Which they're not. So the euro, the Japanese yen, the peso, all the currencies throughout the world against the US dollar. So, the dollar is the world reserve currency of the world. So you would think it's got to be stronger than the other fiat currencies. And that's true, it is. And, by the way, that's why we have all these wars in the Middle East and throughout time. And it's all about, getting the dollar to use to make countries use the oil, purchasing oil with the dollar and things like that. But what I find fascinating is that people are moving away from the dollar. They're dumping treasuries, they're buying gold, they're moving away from the dollar. Look at the BRICS nations, look at all that. They're moving away from the dollar, and people say, oh, that's a bad thing. No, I think that's a good thing, because for far too long, the US dollar has been the king, and it's good for certain ways you can look at it, but it's really bad for the world. And we want things that are good for the world, and that's again why I like crypto. And also gold and silver, especially silver. If I had to choose gold and silver, I'd definitely pick silver 10,000 times over gold. Maybe that could be a different video. But basically, what do we see in the DXY? Well, remember, this is a currency. This is a chart based off versus all the other fiat currencies. And other fiat currencies like the euro and the pound, they all have central banks. They all have debt. They all have the same sort of architecture like the Federal Reserve, but the Federal Reserve has the upper hand in a lot of it because of the things I just mentioned before. So this is the 12-week chart, and what I can see here, just straight off the bat, is a downtrend. I mean, you can just see we are going down, even if it's against the other fiat currencies, right? But let's just say it's not, that we are going down, right? With these counter waves to the downside, but mostly just oscillating down. So you could see here, so what would be next? Probably this, right? So I'm going to give you some bullish ideas. I'm going to give you some bearish ideas. And, not to say that I'm right or wrong. I could be totally wrong on everything I say, right? This is just my speculation on what I see. Just keeping in mind, this is why I'm so passionate about crypto and money. People say, you're not supposed to love money. I don't love money. I love the idea of freedom. Somebody who can take control of their life by not depending on debt, not depending on central banks, not depending on that, right? And it's basically impossible to do that. But that's why we have crypto, right? We have gold, we have silver. The idea is to, like Gregory Mannarino says, he's got a YouTube channel. He says some great things. He says, look, you want to bet against the debt and become your own central bank. Meaning don't have all your money stashed away in the bank somewhere, because we can go back to 1812 where, they're insolvent. And right now, I believe the banks are insolvent. I mean, if you look at the last pandemic, right, what did they do? Basically, I believe that was just a ruse to print more money, to have the excuse to print more money. Remember, central banks, they are the puppet masters. They control everything. That's the conspiracy side, right? I can't say that for sure, but there really was a pandemic. But banks basically leverage problems like like a war, right? They like war. They like disease, because what they do is it gives them the excuse to leverage it so that they can print more money, so that they can have more control. So I digress. Right, I'm getting off track again, but this is what I live for is this type of stuff, and then in charts as well. So basically right off the bat, what I see here is potentially a cup and handle pattern, which is, if you're holding crypto, it is bad. So if I take a measurement from, I'll be conservative, from here to here, and then I'll put it right here. I mean, that's a massive target. I mean, that would be terrible, right? I hope to God that doesn't happen. But in this day and age, everybody believes what? The dollar is dying. And that's true. But everybody believes the DXY is going to crash. Everybody believes it's done for. It's got to go down. It's got to go down. You know, it just has to. But the problem is, when everybody believes a certain thing, it's usually the opposite that occurs. So just to keeping in mind. So if this occurs, and we do, you know, we had this big cup and this handle, and we broke out and we back tested it. So this thing could start to really accelerate to the upside before the inevitable crash. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but this is just an idea. This is an idea that we don't want. For the love of crypto, we don't want it. But just because if this were to happen, doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin and crypto have to crash to the downside, because the dollar is still, you know, inflating regardless of if it's strong or not. Remember, it's strong relative to other currencies, not necessarily strong standing by itself. So this is one idea, just you know, for an idea there. So you can see another idea is, you could start to see sort of this trend here where we kind of flatten out, we cup up, blow off top. So we come down, we cup around, we go up, blow off top. We come down, we're cupping around, and maybe this is a blow off top. We don't know yet. Remember, this is a 12-week chart, so it takes a long time for things to progress. Let me go down to the monthly chart. You can see some more detail in there, but basically what I want to do is go down to what everybody's looking at currently, which is the lower time frames, maybe around the 3-day chart. Let's see if we can. So basically, you know, crypto is been in this bear market, right? And the dollar has been in this bull market. And then we have this knockback. So the question is this just a pullback for more upside, or is this the beginning of a downtrend? That's the thing, right? What is the answer, right? Well, I'll give you some ideas and you can make your own mind, you know, if you're leaning one way or the other. So let's zoom out just a little bit. Let's go back. Let's try this chart here. So if this is Elliott wave, it's not very clear. You know, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you think, okay, it's done. So now we need an A, B, C, the very least. That's true. And a lot of times, you know, when you have these big spikes, a big spike, right? What's followed by a down move, right? A down move. So you have this big spike. So you're thinking it's got to go down, and that could very well be the case. So what I found interesting here, if I go to the daily chart, is Wyckoff accumulation. So remember, I've been talking about Wyckoff on almost all the videos. Doesn't that look like Wyckoff to you? Let me show you. So this is Wyckoff accumulation, and let's see if that's what's occurring now. So if I take, let's get the chart a little bit centered there. Okay, so what we could see right off the bat is, yes, this looks definitely like Wyckoff accumulation. So let's start from the beginning. So here's the Wyckoff accumulation example where you have this down move, this three-way move to the upside. which basically is just a dead cat bounce into resistance. Then you have another hit to the low, back up to resistance, not necessarily taking out the high, and then going into its spring phase, where it takes out the low, it grabs the liquidity, and then takes off. So right off the bat, you have this down move, you have this down move, you have this move to the upside, you have this move to the upside. Let me put on the line so you can see here. Boom. There we go. Doesn't that look more clear now? So basically, you have this three-way move to the upside, this move to the upside, hits the resistance, right? Then we come on down to support. Same thing here. We come on down to support. Then we have this move to the upside, right? We have this move to the upside. Doesn't necessarily have to take out that high, but sometimes it can. And then what happens is we go into a spring phase, right? We go into the spring phase. And what this is kind of a sloppy spring phase. So we have this move to the downside. And basically the important part is right here, is basically we take out the liquidity, just like in the example. So right here, that, and this right there. So that's sort of the idea. And I should have spotted that back last, well, no, that's not last year, last summer. I should have spotted that and took that as a clue to, get ready, something bigger is occurring. So basically, what's happening here is we had this spring phase, and this is just my opinion. This could not be Wyckoff. This could be, or it's possible either way, right? Anything's possible. Remember, not financial advice. This is just my opinion. I'm thinking it is Wyckoff just by the way it looks. So, like I said, we have this spring phase. We take out the liquidity. Market makers, like I said, they need to take the stop loss and this stop loss out. So basically, when the DXY crashed and took out this low and this low, that told the world, okay, we're crashing. This is it. Let's go. We're going down, 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 down. So everybody, what? They went short. So everybody went short. There was an influx in liquidity. And then what happened was the market makers, the big guys, they basically swapped their dollars. They swapped their other currencies like the euro and whatever for dollars. So basically there was an influx of liquidity. The market makers saw a golden opportunity. They took the shot, right? Because going back to this time, everybody thought the dollar is crashing. Even I'm sure you thought, yes, the dollar's got to crash. It has to, because of all these factors. You had the pandemic, you had all this stuff, right? All the money printing, all the debt, and everybody believes that it's going to crash, and then it doesn't, right? So that's why you want to be contrarian to everybody, right? It's usually the herd is wrong. That's the old saying. The majority of people is wrong, and the small percentages are true. So when you see these polls on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and someone says, is Bitcoin going to $50,000 first, or is it going to $10,000 first? Whatever the majority believes, usually, not always, but usually it's the opposite. So just an FYI. So we have this, and here's the part that validated it for me, is when we had this massive impulse to the upside, we have this massive impulse to the upside. So what is it doing now? Well, let's try to think about this. So basically, we could be in this phase here, which would also align with that cup and handle pattern I showed earlier, right? If everybody believes the DXY is going down, it's probably going to go up, maybe. I don't want it to go up. I want it to go down. Obviously, that's better for our crypto portfolio. So, anything can happen. But just looking at this, it looks like we're in here where basically um, this area right in here. So we're just oscillating in here before we go higher. That's one way you can look at it, right? This looks like a 1, 2, 3, or like an ABC. If I zoom in here, let's go down to the 8-hour chart. You could see A, B, C, or even WXY, right? And in which case, we're ready to go higher. So anytime you have an impulse to the upside and then a three-wave pullback of some sort, chances are it's probably going to go higher. Or this is going to hopefully come back up to here, back test the breakdown zone, and then continue rocking it to the downside. That would be a good sign for crypto. So you have the DX. So we're at a very pivotal point in history right now, because you have the DXY in retracement levels. You also have Bitcoin and crypto in retracement levels. You have the stock market in retracement levels. So basically everything is at a do or die stage. Either everything's going to die or everything's going to, not the DXY, but stocks, crypto, asset classes, right? They can either make it or break it. So we got to be very careful here on our expectations and things like that, because anything can happen here. So is this Wyckoff accumulation? It could very well be. It could very well be Wyckoff accumulation. So we have to see. We have to just take it day by day and see. But basically, let me take that off the screen so we got that out of the way. If I pull a fib retracement here, I come all the way down. I mean, we're not even at the 618 yet. So if this is going to be a retracement, which usually when you have a big impulse to the upside, followed by a big knockback, followed by a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, typically price likes to gravitate towards the 618 and the 702. So if I take everything off the screen, well, not quite everything, but this in here, we're looking at this right here. So if we had this spring phase, we had this first initial wave to the upside, we have a three-way pullback, we're potentially back testing this area, then we can come in here. So basically that would be an A, B, and C. So this is my primary idea. This is what I'm hoping to happen. Just because I'm hoping doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? But this is sort of my primary idea. Is basically this is an A, this is a B, and this is a C. And we're in the middle of C right now. So this will be our three-wave move before heading back down. If we get above this retracement level, and we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're above it, and we back test it, A, B, C, and continue on. If we're right in here, that would be scary for crypto holders. That would be like, okay, now Bitcoin 10K, 9K, 12K, 14K would definitely be on the table at that point, which would also line up with the Bitcoin retracement, right? So imagine this is Bitcoin, right? I'm going to do my best to draw the chart here, right? And then we kind of circle down, and now we're sort of like this, right? So this is Bitcoin right here. So if Bitcoin continues to go up, it would be an A, B, and now we're going down for C. So we're in the middle of a B wave. Not to say that's going to happen, but we could be finished now, or we could still have more room to the upside. So basically, that's about it. What do you guys think? Do you think the DXY is bullish? Do you think the DXY is bearish? So another interesting thing too here, if right now I'm personally neutral on it. I think we do need some pullback or some consolidation because we had this pretty big move to the upside. The stock market looks a little oversold. Crypto, maybe not so much overbought, but starting to bottom out. You could see this cup and handle right here, where you have this cup and this pretty large handle, right? So if I take a measurement from here to there, and I take it here and I put it right there, it almost hit that target, right? It almost hit that that target, that measured move from this cup and handle. So it could be already done. Another way you can look at it is, look, this is a massive range here. Let me take that off first. This is a massive range in here, and what's happening is the price of the DXY, right? We were oscillating in here, so we had this consolidation, the markup phase, and then now we're in consolidation in this range, and we break out of the range, and now we're coming down to back test the top of the range before going even higher. And if we do go higher, that would be probably the last wave. One more oorah before we collapse on itself. So that could very well happen. Or this was, take that off. This was a fake out. So we're ranging. We break out so that the market makers can grab liquidity, and then we're going to take it down. So that could very well happen as well. So it would be a 3-3-5. So a 3-3-5, which is a flat pattern. So basically a flat, if you Google what a flat, go to Google and type in what is Elliott wave flat pattern. It's something similar to this, where you have this sort of move and then this counter move followed by a big impulse. So basically this gets everybody bearish. This gets everybody extremely bullish. It grabs the liquidity and then takes it down. So your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea, because a lot of things are dependent on the economic conditions and everything's manipulated anyway. So it's like, it's very challenging to try to figure out where this thing is going. But you can see for the last decade plus, we've been in this uptrend. So, the trend is your friend, right? The trend is your friend. So we've been just trending higher gradually. So is it going to continue trending higher? That's a good question. I'm not here to predict one way or another, but I've given you some ideas to go with, and let's see what happens. For our crypto portfolio's sake, let's hope that that was it, and we can see some more downside. So basically, if I had to make a guess, I would say this was a B, and a C, and maybe C's not finished yet, right? And in that ABC, we have, remember before, this Wyckoff accumulation pattern, and this was the spring phase, the liquidity grab, and now we're marching our way up to the upside in which case we're going to play around here and make one more hit to the high, take out some of these retracement areas, one more hit to the high, so it'd be A, B, C, get into these retracement levels, and then go down. So that's my primary idea. So if I had to guess, that would be it. So I am super happy to be wrong. Maybe it's done now. Maybe it's already done and we're ready to go down. But I'm not too sure about that because right at the moment we're just back testing the top of the range. So there's a lot of things you can think about right there. So there's a lot of variables. What do you guys think? Are you guys bullish? Are you guys bearish? What do you think about Bitcoin? Do you think it's going to continue to go up as the DXY continues to go down? Or do you think that, maybe the DXY needs a pullback? And when I mean pullback, I mean going back up. So you can see this big move to the downside. That definitely gets people bearish. But anytime you have a big move to the downside, oftentimes you want to come back up and retest the breakdown zone before coming back down. So we're basically in no man's land. We grab that liquidity. So our chances are we're not going to just continue falling. Chances are we need pullbacks along the way before going down, if you're bearish. If you're bullish, you could say, well, this is an ABC, and we're ready to start rocking back to the upside pretty soon. So anybody's guess, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section if you made it this far in the video. Really appreciate a like, maybe even share it, but definitely leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And also, if you have any ideas of what videos you'd like me to do, maybe there's a coin out there you want me to take a look at, please let me know. Drop it in the comment section, and I might just take a look at it. But until next time, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your week. Take care.